Welcome to Reiki Cafe Radio. I am your host, Christine Renee, and I'm really excited about today's topic on letting it get good. The reason why I chose this topic for this week is that not only has it been a theme amongst my clients of recent, but I also saw a meme that really popped out to me, and it's just allowing so many different pieces come together that I wanted to share it with you. So the meme reads, "Nobody tells you how hard it is to rewire your brain so you can allow amazing things to happen to you after so much trauma or hurt. Blessings exist, good people exist, a softer life exists. Let it happen." And when I read that, I was like, yes, yes, that's what I'm working on. That's what my clients are working on. And you too may notice that you may have themes with your clients. If you're a practitioner, you might have like, oh, everyone's got this stuff or everyone's got that stuff. And then you look at it as a mirror and going, how am I working on that level as well? So after I read this understanding that we are taking the time to rewire our brain, we're releasing the hurt, we're releasing the trauma, we're done the shadow work. And when is it time to let it be good? I also recently had a friend ask me, like, when I said, it's just good right now. Like, there's not a lot of heaviness that I feel like I need to work on. And she was like, well, is that even possible? Like, when do you stop in your healing journey? And yes, the answer is never. You're never going to stop the healing journey. And at the same time, you're peeling back layers and layers. And so it might start really heavy in that shadow work, the childhood trauma work, the inner child healing work, the deep depth of like understanding where it all resides, why you get triggered. And then you peel those layers back. And then it's maybe the working on the relationships. Maybe you're working on intergenerational trauma, like breaking the generational curses that have been handed down from generation to generation, the shame, the guilt, the whatever it may be. And then you're working in past life trauma and working through those things. So I see it time and time again where I have clients, and after we work over a long period of time, not just 7 weeks, maybe 2 years, you're seeing those layers just shed and come off. And at what point can you say, let's just let it be good? Let's focus on letting it be good and calling in that higher vibrational energy to let my life be good. So one of my favorite books is called The Big Leap by Gary Hendricks. And he really talks about this right off the bat in his book about what's the glass ceiling? Why are we creating this? It can't be good above this. Like, there's this idea of, if it feels good right now, when is the other shoe going to drop? When are things going to get bad? When is it going to turn a corner? Because it can't always be like this. And our brains are wired this way, whether that is genetically or something else, because most of us, most humans, our evolution has always been that there is something to survive. There's a plague, there's a war, there's being a refugee, there's something always happening where it's not safe just to let things be good. And so there's this hardwiring in us of going, when are things going to turn a corner? When are things going to get worse? And the question is, why not let it be good? And we're living in a day and age that it's in the realm of possibility that we can just let it get better and better. And so why not? We get to look at those areas of our life of going, where are we creating our own glass ceiling so it can't get better? Whether that is the number of money, like the money that you have in your account, there's my glass ceiling, or is the amount of love and support that you allow in your life? Whether it is the physical environment that you have in the home that you live in, whether it is your health and wellness. How are we holding ourselves back from letting it get good? What about personal growth or spiritual growth or your availability for fun and play? Like, all of these areas have their own glass ceiling of like, it can't get better than that. It can't get better than that. And so I want to take the opportunity today to share with you, what are those glass ceilings and how can we let it get better? Right. So I currently have a beautiful, like a theme currently with my clients. And oftentimes what my clients are experiencing is that they're going through a deep healing session with me. And oftentimes over multiple sessions that we're really having to dive in. When they've come to me, they're either in a deep depression or they're having really high anxiety and panic attacks, whatever it may be, like they're in the thick of it. And so when they come in for a session, part of me is like, whoa, making sure, like, do you have a therapist? Do you have other outside resources? Like there's a part of this that I absolutely can support with. I am the spiritual realm. Like, let's take a look at how the energy is flowing and making sure that they have that outside support. I'm always making sure that this is a collaborative effort on that they have a team of support. And once that's established, I'm like, okay, let's dive in, because I want to do a chakra analysis. I want to energetically feel into their system and see what's there, what needs to be removed, and how can we support them and letting it go, letting it release, because oftentimes our past has attachments. The negative things that have happened in our past are like daggers in our back. Like that's the memory of them, is like, oh, this heaviness, this weight upon us. That's just the past hanging on. And so how can we gently remove that? Right. And so that's what I work with in my clients. Sometimes we can do that in a one and done session. Oftentimes it's multiple weeks. And especially if they're in that deep hole, like I have to give them a ladder and coach them out a couple steps at a time so that they can come out of the fog, if you will. And so this may take sessions, energetic sessions. It may include intrusive entity removals. It may include intrusive objects that need to be released. All of their energy, like I'm looking at it holistically of like, where is it affecting their body? How is it affecting their health, their emotions, all of it? And how can we help them feel safe and letting it go? Because it all comes back to this free will place. If they're attached to their story, if they're attached to the victimhood, if they're attached to that heaviness of whatever it was, then there's nothing I can do. Like it has to be from a free will place. I need to show them. My job as a healer is to kind of show the mirror of like, this is where you're at. This is where your responsibility lies in your energy field. How can we create a space where you can claim your sovereignty again? How can you reclaim your power again? Knowing that all of that heaviness, you can let it go. We can let it go. And then we can start moving forward in our healing work to, once we let it all go, there's a void. And then how do we pack it in with love and light? That's where the Reiki comes in. And so oftentimes I have these clients with all of this heaviness, and it's just a matter of letting them see as from a crown chakra point of view, a bigger picture point of view of like, why have you accepted that this is the way it is? Who told you that you don't deserve love, support, care in your life? How can we unravel those inherent core limiting beliefs? There's the big work. There's the shadow work. And so then we work our way through it and we get them to a point of going, they can, like, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like they're finally out of the water. They're no longer drowning, and they can look around and appreciate and find gratitude in the areas of life that are working well for them. Right. And so once I can get them to a place of neutrality and then into a place of gratitude, then we're really changing our energetic wheels. We're calling back our power. We're finding our internal strength. We're finding our inherent divine worth. We're seeing ourselves as a being of light, of an expression of God, of oneness, of creator, whatever you want to call it. And once they're there, then it's like, okay, now we can take a nice deep breath and go, everything that's happened doesn't have to be who you are today. Where can we let go of and release so that when things come up, you can then have the awareness of the trigger, right? And so when something comes up, let's say a loved one in their life, their parents or whoever it is, they poke that button that feels like a trigger. And instead of having that automatic reaction, they can take a deep breath and going, that's curious. That's that pattern again. I can recognize it. I'm going to choose to do something different. I'm no longer going to have that frequency of the trigger. I can be aware of it. I can emotionally recognize that I'm experiencing this, and I can make a new choice, right? Or I can go communicate about why that was triggering for me, or how I could feel supported and less triggered by that event, whatever it may be, right? Like it's all, I always say, you probably, if you listen to a lot of our podcasts, you'll probably hear me say multiple times throughout that your availability for healing depends upon your availability of awareness, right? Like awareness is always the first step to healing, right? And so we need to bring in that level of awareness. So when we do the childhood trauma work, we're bringing in a level of awareness. When we bring in the generational trauma work, we're bringing in a level of awareness. When we do our past life work and you've been hung as a witch 100 times over, you're bringing in a level of awareness so that you understand your triggers, right? And so then when you have the awareness of your triggers and then you get triggered, you can slow it down and take a nice deep breath and not let the automatic reaction happen. This is how we move out of the vibration of that energy of the trigger. By having awareness, we then can make a new choice. By making a new choice, then we can say, what is it I actually want to experience? And giving ourselves permission to want what we want, desire what we want, have what we want, and claim it for ourselves. How can we claim more joy, more love, more success, more independence, whatever it is that you're desiring into your life, right? And so this is where it gets fun, you guys. It doesn't have to be all of the trauma and the triggers. At some point, we need to let go and release fully so that those wounds can be packed in with a new vibrational set that says, I'm available for joy. I'm available for fun. I'm available for play. And so I want to invite you to look at your life and really get down to it. If there was no fear of outward judgment or fear of rejection or wanting what other people think that you want for you, what would you really desire? What is that? And it might not be, it might come to a surprise to you. Maybe it's something as simple as, I want to wake up every morning having energy for the day. That's a beautiful thing. What if it's every day I want to have a hearty laugh? Like laughter is medicine. So really filter out all of the things that say, I'm supposed to want this. If it's coming from your partner, your parents, your loved ones, society, the culture, institutionalized systems that say, this is what you should want. You should want a 9-to-5 job and a 401k and a white picket fence around your house with 2 kids and a dog, but that's not what you want. Then it's time to cancel that. It's time to say, I'm no longer available to pretend that I'm in desire. I'm in relationship with other people's desires for me. What is it that you want? And I think this is where, we constantly at Reiki Cafe go back to, let's break the box. Like, we don't need to live in the box that others have created for us. And that's why, today here I am, living in a co-housing community, the first one in Montana. I have goats and chickens on our land that we communally take care of. I'm part of a communal garden. I get all of my social energizing time with people that are in my community. I've gone back to a more of a village lifestyle in a way, because that's what I desired. Even though it's not mainstream, even though it doesn't make sense to other people, it's something that I chose for me and my family. And I love it. Like, it's all good. It's a lot of freaking hard work, but that's to be expected when you're developing any kind of new community and developing new relationships. And what else? What else is there? Like, this was the year that I did travel. Like, in the last 14 months, I did more travel in the last 14 months than I have in the last 14 years. Right. So it came to a point of like, I got to choose. I got to claim what I desired. I got to claim what I want, and then watch it show up, because I'm in the frequency of future envisioning. I get to give myself permission to look at, okay, I can choose to look at the past and all the things that went wrong and how hard it was, or I can make a choice and pivot and look towards the future and going, how can I co-create with divine the things that I desire in my life? How do I want to invite in the joy, the happiness, the play, the laughter, the goodness of life? Where am I making room for that? How am I making room for that? And so when I'm working with a client, oftentimes there's a point in their session or in their sessions, more often than not, where this is what we're doing. We're going, great, we've done the work. Let's leave it be. Let's let it go. We no longer need a hyper focus on what happened in the past. We can focus in on what we want to create and call in, because you're ready for that, right? And so you might still have some healing work, but that's no reason to be hyper focusing on the past. Let's look towards the future. And when we look towards the future and know that whatever we're envisioning is already created on some multidimensional parallel universe, and we know that it exists, and all we have to do is claim it and call it in, that's when things get fun, right? And so I want to invite you to notice all of the areas of your life of going, where can we make it fun? Where can we make it more expansive? Where can we make it more joyful? And really going to that, this is what I desire place. Not that someone else wants it for me, this is what my parents want for me, but what do you want for you? How do you want your life to look? So that's step one. Like, let's just call that step one. Let's call in your true inherent desires, right? So we're letting go of the past, we're pivoting out towards the future and calling forth our desires. And then it's claiming it, so it's commanding it forward. And when we do this, we're saying, I'm an energetic vibrational match to have this in my life, to have this relationship in my life, to have this house in my life, to have this pet in my life, whatever it may be for you, what's going to be that most expansive thing. And know that this pivot piece for a lot of my clients, and myself included, can be really difficult. And so this is why I love to introduce something called belief bridging at this point, because we're going from a limiting belief to a belief system in which we know we are worthy of it, right? And so, for example, if I have a client that says the world is a scary place, maybe they've spent a lot of time in their home, sheltering, isolated, and that's their limiting belief, is the world is a scary place. Everyone is out to get me. Then we're going to use belief bridging to take the baby steps, because it's really hard to bring someone from a place of the world is all scaring out to get me to, I can trust everyone in my environment is safe for all. Like, those are too extreme. We have to allow ourselves to create a bridge and lay down each plank one at a time until we get to a place where we feel safe, where we can trust our environment around us in this example. And so what this would look like in belief bridging is to say, okay, you start with your limiting belief, the world is a scary place. And then we start setting those planks down. So maybe the next plank says, I'm open to seeing ways in which I can trust my environment. So we're laying down the plank. Okay, I am open to it. So there's the baby step. I am open to seeing things differently. And then the next plank that we lay down is, I could see myself enjoying life in the company of others. I could see myself doing that. Okay, so there's the next plank. And then the next plank after that is, I can see ways I love life in community or with others. I can see ways in which my environment is safe. I can see ways in which going out and getting a job would be beneficial. I can see ways in which that reality exists. And then at the end, we make it over to our full affirmation, which is, I'm loving life. I trust my environment. I'm safe. I'm inherently safe. Right. And so that is how we kind of work our way over to it. So at any plank, you're like, well, that's BS. I don't believe that. I am not open to seeing myself being happy at a party when I'm so introverted, right? Like that would be, if you're calling BS on the statement, you need to take a step back, go to the plank that's easiest, and be there until the next plank doesn't feel like BS anymore. And that's how we change our belief system. That's how energetically we get ourselves out of the hole. And oftentimes it's really amazing how many ingrained limiting beliefs we have. And so when we start getting curious about our limiting beliefs of going, how am I making myself contracted? How am I making myself small and not living to my full potential? How am I not living to my most expansive energy state available to me? And in that, you'll get a list of limiting beliefs. This is what I believe about the world. All men are evil, or everyone's out to get me, or like there's so many, like I'm inherently unworthy, I'm inherently flawed, I'm unlovable, everyone's out to judge me. I can't go out in nature because I'll die. Whatever it is for you. And some of them can really elicit that core limiting belief within you. And other times it's more superficial than that. And that it's just something that's been given to you and that you've held on to it for whatever reason. The reason why we have these limiting beliefs is because our subconscious is trying to keep us safe. So if my subconscious is telling me the world is a scary place, it's because it's trying to keep me safe. There was something that has happened, whether in my childhood, whether in those generational curses, whether in my past life, that says that the world isn't a safe place. And so you make yourself small. You live in a tiny place. You don't leave your house. Like that's where those things come from. And so when we can identify those limiting beliefs and where they came from, we can start making a new choice of going, I can see how my subconscious is trying to save my life. And yet I don't live in the time in which I need to be in fear any longer. So for example, the witch's wound is a really good example because most healers out there can relate to it. I can't speak my truth because someone's going to kill me is the underlying limiting belief, because we've been burned as witches and hung as witches and everything else. And so healers oftentimes struggle with putting themselves out there because they're worried of judgment and rejection, because it's happened lifetime, again, again, and again, and again, and again. So this is something that for most healers, we need to work through until we get to a point of going, I live in a safe environment to speak my truth. Nothing can happen to me in this lifetime because I'm living in a different era. I'm no longer at risk to put myself out there. And so in this way, when we can start coaching our subconscious of going, you know what? I think we're safe this time. Why don't you go ahead and take a back seat and zip the lip? And I'm going to try. I'm going to go be a guest on a podcast. I'm going to go hang my flyer. I'm going to go to that social event. I'm going to go to that networking event or whatever it may be. And you start telling people about what you do as a practice, as your healing work. And then you get proof that says you're not going to be harmed. You're not going to be hung. You're not going to die. You're actually safe. So you build up the proof. So then when you go, well, I can see ways in which I could put myself out there. And then it becomes, I could see myself having a practice and knowing that I'm safe. To, I can see ways in which I can start my practice now and feel safe about it. To, I am ready and available to start my practice and know that nothing can harm me. Right. And so we work through these different levels of belief changing so that we can become more fully available to the experience of life. And when it comes to the experience of life, that's why we came to Earth. And so I want to just kind of bring this way out there to a crown chakra point of view, if you will, of going, why did we come? Why did we show up in this body at this time and these experiences? What was the point of that? Right? Like when we really take a broad picture point of view, the reason that we're here is because we wanted to experience life. And I'm like, that's it. We came to experience life. And we each may have a soul contract or agreement that helps us define what those life experiences are going to look like. and which roles we're going to play in them and how we're going to interact with other roles, people, different characters in our life. So we get the experience that we want out of this earth, out of this lifetime. And we're going to come back and do it again and again and again to get that experience that our soul desires, right? This is a not, yes, there's lots of lessons, and that's one way to look at it, but this is the learnings. Our soul is learning through the experiences of life. The other day I was in a ceremonial experience, and I just remember doing this journey and looking down at the earth and going, I love it there. I love Earth. I love it so much there. All of the craziness, all the up and downs, all the experiences. I love it there. I absolutely love it there. And I will continue to choose over and over and over again that I love it there. And so I want to be born there again and again and again because I love it there. And that may feel really difficult to hear if you're not in love with the earth. But in that moment, I was in love with Gaia, her as an entity, seeing her ups and downs and struggles as a planet and as an individual being embodied on that planet, coming in as an earthling and saying, I chose this. I chose all of this. I've chosen all of my experiences. I've chosen the people who have come into my lives. I've chosen my parents. I've chosen my children. I've chosen the people I've been in relationship with. I chose this. And when I'm in that place, I get to take a moment and go, well, what was the learnings there? What was the experience that I was hoping for? What did I take away from that so that I can continue on that life journey, that life experience? What am I going to gain from it? And when we can take a moment, noticing how contrast that is from the beginning of this podcast, where I was like, here's the client stuck in their hole of depression or anxiety or whatever it is. And how do we build that ladder out? Well, this is the opposite of that. That one's super hyper focused, but they're the center of their worlds. And then we get to take this radical point of view of going, why did we choose to come in this lifetime in this way? And once we start discovering that this is an opportunity to look at life from this angle, things become easier. You don't get sucked down in the nitty-gritty details. You don't worry so much about what was I supposed to do it this way or that way? Did I make the right choice? Because you trust that the universe has your back. You trust that there was divine guidance and why you showed up in the way you did. And that if you can gather the learnings and the lessons from whatever experience that was, then it won't be put on repeat anymore. You can check it off the list of your soul agreement and say, yep, did that, done. And next, please. What's the next learning? What's the next experience? What do I want to accomplish in this lifetime? And so we have those pieces where we're like, I want to leave a legacy. And there's these big things that you want to accomplish. But then there's this other side of it that is really almost more important of how do you want to love during this lifetime? How do you want to communicate in this lifetime? How do you want to nurture the people around you, your surroundings? How do you want to nurture the earth? How do you want to nourish yourself? How do you want to go through these experiences to experience yourself as a divine being having an experience? And so there's a lot of like big goals that we can have, and that's beautiful and lovely and all of the things. And when it comes down to it, what does your soul want to experience? How do you want to experience life? What does that look like for you? And when was the last time you gave yourself the opportunity to even think about that, to ponder that, to let it all soak in of like, who am I? Why did I choose my parents? Why did I choose these children? How does my life fit into my current relationships? Who am I? Who do I want to be? And what am I trying to gain here? And you'll start noticing that some people are working through experiences of guilt or experiences of shame or experiences of fill in the blank. And it's a pattern. And maybe that was their bigger soul's contract of like, this is your theme for this lifetime. this is what you are working on. This is what you're going to focus on this lifetime. We're going to give all of these experiences to you with these other souls who have agreed to show up for you in this loving way to provide you the exact experience that you need. And how is it going to unfold? What are you going to take away from it? Is it something that you can allow yourself to experience and to grow in so that your soul continues to make progress? And it's freeing. It's absolutely freeing when you can get to this place of not having to worry about the smaller details, that you're coming to a place of curiosity, of I wonder what that would be like. Let's go try it out, see what happens, right? And so when we're in this place, now we're in a really good mindset, a really good position to co-create with divine, co-create with creator. And so we get to ask ourselves, what do we want our physical environment to be like? What do we want our emotional environment to be like? What do we want our spiritual environment to be like? How can we support ourselves in saying yes to our soul's choices, knowing that we always have a choice, even though we're destined to do these things, right? Destined to have these people, these souls interact with us, there's always still a level of choice in it, right? And how can we say it's time to claim joy? How is it your time to claim expansion? How is it your time to claim love, right? And so knowing that you can do a lot of the past trauma work, a lot of that healing work, a lot of that shadow work, which we are really into here at Reiki Cafe. We really love supporting our clients and our students doing that work because it's part of the step one. It's how do we become aware of all of those triggers and traumas so that we can start to rewrite the script and look towards the future of what do we want to create in our life, right? And so when we do that, we can start inviting it in. We're doing the belief bridging. We're letting go of some of those heavier concepts, those heavier burdens and beliefs that we've carried with us from this lifetime and past lifetimes, and really start saying, I'm available for all of the love the world has to offer. I'm available for positive experiences. I'm available for expansion. I'm available for spiritual understanding. I'm available for growth. What does that look like? And when we come to that place, we also have this recognition that everything is energy, that separation really is an illusion, that we are a spark of like one larger spark. We're all divine, and yet we're showing up in this as separate to experience one another so we can have the earthly experience. And the earth is such a dense planet. Like it's heavy down here, you guys. It's never meant to be a cakewalk. And yet there's so much beauty here that can't be experienced other places, other planets, other dimensions. You know, there's something very unique about the earth and the opportunities we have to learn here that can't be done elsewhere. And that's why we choose to come here. And I, for one, I love that. And so once we start understanding the bigger picture, understanding that everything is energy, that once we start understanding that everyone is divine, then we're no longer victims, because we can recognize that our enemies are just ourselves, and that everything is a mirror, and that we're creating this experience to learn from it so that we can move to a place of expansion, right? So our thoughts create a vibration, and the stronger the vibration is, the more we are attracting that vibration into our life. That's the true meaning of like the law of attraction, right? So we're not spiritually bypassing, we're doing the freaking work. There's no getting around the work. Do the work, have awareness of the work, have awareness of your triggers, so that when they do come up, you can work with them in an appropriate way, that you can communicate about them in an appropriate way, so that you can continue orientating yourself to the co-creative process with the creator, with the divine, of saying, yes, I'm available for all of these positive things in my life, in all areas of my life. So when we get hyper focused in one area of our life, let's say that we're getting hyper focused on our physical environment, the physical location that you live in, whether that is like you don't like your town, you don't like your house, you don't like your car, and it becomes your obsession. Like you're so in the vibration of complaining about that one area of your life. Guess what happens? You forget about all the other areas of your life that are working for you, your partnerships, your family and friends, your health and wellness, your spiritual growth, your personal growth, your finances, your sexuality, like all these other areas of your life. Your physical environment is not the only thing. So when we can take a look at it holistically and really invite in life balance of going, I am not where I live. Does not make up who I am ultimately. How can we say yes to, look at all of these other areas that are working so well for me? How can I invite the gratitude in for the areas of life that are working for me? Because when I'm at that frequency, when I'm at that vibration of gratitude, I'm going to invite more of that into my life. So when we have more of that in our life, we're just becoming a magnet for all of the things that we are possibly grateful for. And so this is why gratitude, regardless of what kind of meditation practice or what religion you're in or what mindfulness practice you're looked at, they always have a level of gratitude, including the Reiki precepts. There's just for today, I will be grateful for I'll be grateful. I'm like, there's something more to that. I'll give thanks for all my blessings. That's what it is. Right. And so when we can come into that space of being grateful, then there's a smile that comes on your face and you're open to blessings. So if you're in the energetic vibration of gratitude and you're sitting there on a park bench being all smiles, that negative thing that could show up in your experience isn't going to waver you. It's just going to be like, you're not going to be in the environment where those negative things are going to happening, right? You're going to find yourself somewhere else, or you're just going to let it go. And I have to say that there is a transitionary time. So for example, if you are been doing your healing work, you've become aware of all of your triggers and your traumas, and you have a healthy perspective on them so that you know how to communicate them, you know what you need, you know what you want, you know what you desire, you're working on the things, okay? And then you're vibing up, you're coming into a higher frequency. And yet your family, your friends, your spouse are still in a lower vibration. That is going to be a difficult transition. And yet your job is to continue to high vibe it. And when we can stay in that high vibe place of gratitude and thanks, what we find is that the things that are lower vibration than us start to fade away. It's like you have tuned your radio station to a certain frequency so that when someone starts complaining about politics, or someone starts complaining about the environment, or starts complaining about how they don't have the right thing on their plate at the restaurant, or whatever it is, all of a sudden you're going to notice that those relationships start to fade. They start to dissolve. They start to fade out because you're no longer in resonance with them. And that can be a bit of a struggle because we want relationship with the people we've been in relationship with often. We want to have a healthy relationship with our children, our parents, our partners. And when we start high vibing it and they're at a lower level, we automatically, if we're doing the work, we're going to start creating healthy emotional boundaries that say, I'm no longer available to be having this conversation with you. Or I hear that this is what you want to talk about, but I'm not willing to give that energy to that topic right now. Let's change the subject. Or you might just find yourself not around as much if your parents are toxic, that you start going, Mom, if you're going to talk to me like this, I'm just going to not be available for phone calls anymore. This is what I'm available for. If you're able to have a healthy conversation with me about how your week was, great, but I'm not going to participate in a complaint fest. I'm not available for that. And so we get to continue to be who we are and invite in that high vibe. And then here's where it starts to shift. Once we say, no, I'm not available. No, I'm not available. No, I'm not available. It's just like doing the energetic works on ourselves of when we started taking out those old traumas and histories in our physical somatic body. Now we're taking them out of our physical experience. And what it creates is a void. And we get to fill that void with love and light. We get to fill it in with new, positive, healthy relationships. And this is how it works. And so, yes, you have these stages and phases that might feel difficult, but you're going to move through it. And if you can move through it in a way that's in integrity and authenticity of who you are, it's going to feel good. You're going to continuously find new people who are vibing at your level. And so and this is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's not just cancel, cancel, cancel. It's setting in healthy boundaries of what you're available for and what you're not. And then in that space that you have created, you call in, what do you want your relationships to look like? How do you want your friendships to look like? How do you want your partnerships to look like? What's the ideal environment that you want to be in? You get to call in everything that you desire and let it show up for you, knowing that the universe has your back, that you have all these divine guides, ancestors, power animals, support team that's like, oh, they're getting it. They're doing their work. They're paying attention. So as you ask for help and ask for these heavy lifters to come in, you're going to get this huge amount of support from the other side because you're paying attention, because you're watching, because you're listening, because you're creating that gratitude practice, because you're doing the radical self-care. So that then when it shows up, you're just going to give more gratitude. You're going to give gratitude to the thing that showed up, as well as gratitude to all of the helpers and players that brought it to you in the first place. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. We're just now starting a book club called For Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Myss. And you'll see a lot of these types of themes that I brought up in today's podcast in the book. I've only read chapter 1 because I'm reading it along with you. We're starting on Tuesday. So be sure to grab the Audible book or purchase it off of Amazon or go down to your library because you know they have it, and join with us on Tuesdays for our summer July month book club. Our whole team at Reiki Cafe decided that we wanted to read this and thought that this was going to be a really great summer opportunity to kind of dive into this really cool topic of soul contracts, as well as archetypes and how they play out in our lives. So when Chantel was in Bozeman for our Soul Rising workshops here in my town, she did these archetype readings for us because, well, she's our mystic. If you don't know, she is an amazing card reader, but there was a way that she was doing it for every area of your life, using the archetypal deck of like, this is the archetype that plays out in this area of your life. And this is the archetype that plays out in this area of your life. I'm like, how do we learn more about these archetypes? And I was like, and she was like, Carolyn Myss, this is her work. And so we all got the book, Sacred Contracts. We're diving in and we want to invite you as well. This is a free opportunity to hang out with us this summer. It's a Zoom call. Join us over on our Facebook group, Reiki Cafe Community. You'll find the Facebook event there. We've been posting it on social media, so definitely check it out. If you want to join, we'll send you the Zoom link, and we will be on Tuesdays, 3:30 Pacific, 4:30 Mountain Time, 5:30 Central, and 6:30 Eastern, every Tuesday for the rest of July. Join when you can, even if you're, off track or you've read the book before, you're just getting started, or you read half of it, but no one else has, it's okay. If you want to have a conversation about these topics on this book and you've got the book and you're reading it wherever you're at in it, join us. We would love to have you in that space. And so we'll see you there. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope this sparks some interest for you. Take care, everyone.